was not prepared for what this book would do to me. I came for vampires, I came for romance, and this book left me with a little bit of my own grief, rage, and craving for rebirth. Welcome to my channel. I am Wendy, and this is where we talk about books, romance, and anything that breaks us open and reanalyze things from a different point of view. I am drawn to romantasy, romance books, and healing books, raw books, books that make us question everything about ourselves that we didn't know. So today we're going to be discussing The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent, and I read them on the Kindle. I read most of my books on the Kindle, and it was on Kindle Unlimited, and I decided why not. I have been on such a slump lately, and I think it came after I read ACOTAR, and I felt like I couldn't let go of ACOTAR for some reason. So I decided to try this out. The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent is a dark fantasy, romantasy type of book that talks about a human girl named Oraya. Now, Oraya was raised by a vampire king. She enters a deadly tournament, and quite frankly, it's designed to rip her apart. Basically, she joins this as a way to find her footing and find her place and find her identity. This book is kind of like the beginning of ACOTAR, where Feyre kind of doesn't know her footing in this fairy world, and she has to adjust as a human. And Oraya felt the same way, except she was raised by a vampire. And so this changes dynamics in how she feels as a human, how she feels as a person, because she can't identify as a human because she didn't grow up with humans. And then she can't identify herself as a vampire because she isn't a vampire, and vampires are strong and, deceitful, and very much how she explains it is very cold. Oraya is such a strong character because she's learned to survive under these circumstances where vampires are roaming the streets and humans are prey to vampires. This book teaches also about a found family, about love, about what breaks us, betrayals that we never saw coming. In this book, the vampire king, named Vincent, appears very cold, but this is something that he uses to prep Oraya for a cruel world ahead of her. And her being a human is kind of like she needs to learn survival skills to make it, because if she doesn't, then she would be killed. Now, what got me in this book was her relationship with her father. Dynamics throughout the book is just something that I can kind of relate to. I am a Latina, and I grew up in a Caribbean household where my parents acted the same way as Vincent. They were protective, very much cold at times. However, they may not have said I love you as much. However, I felt that their acts of service showed different. In this book, Vincent shows Oraya how to fight, how to defend herself, how to survive in a world that was meant to break her. Imagine, humans are being preyed on. I wouldn't want to live in a world where I'm being preyed on for just being human. Vincent taught Oraya many things throughout her childhood. However, things start to get a little shaky towards the middle of this book, where she has to enter a tournament, and in this tournament she is the only human girl, or human period, and she is to battle to the death with every single participant that is a vampire. This tournament is extremely important for her because it can grant her pretty much any wish she so desires. And I feel that throughout this book, towards the end, I felt her heartbreak, I felt betrayal, and especially with her love interests. Her love interest is Raihn, And now she is very apprehensive about any vampire she meets because in this book, vampires are known to be very sneaky, not really honest, and she has been hesitant to trust anybody but her father. Raihn kind of breaks her out of that shell and makes her realize that love isn't impossible. This book was very slow burn. I was just like, get it over with. Raihn is the love interest and he's a vampire. And in the beginning, Oraya doesn't really trust him, right? Because she doesn't trust any vampire except for her adoptive dad, Vincent. And she was very apprehensive about him, but I think the end of this book broke me in half because, you know, she yearned for that love from her father that she ultimately received from Raihn. She always yearned for her father to tell her, I love you. And he never told her, I love you. And as a Latina, I understand that so well because a lot of the times our Caribbean parents, especially old school Caribbean parents, aren't really emotional people. They're not emotionally in tune with themselves to say, I love you all the time. And they, even though they're, you know, they don't show it by saying it, they show it by their actions. And this is what Vincent was to Oraya. However, Oraya craved a little bit more than just, hey, I'll show you I love you. And Raihn kind of gave that to her. Now, Raihn is one of those characters that, you know, is showing her all this lovey-dovey stuff and, you know, emotionally deep things that she has never felt with her dad, obviously. But I think his character is very morally gray. And I think this book is morally gray. Her father, Vincent, is morally gray. I enjoy a double-edged sword of characters, right? Because there's always characters that have a light side and a shadow side, kind of like all of us. We have a light side and a shadow side. And so this book kind of portrayed how love can kill us and or break us and throws us curveballs that we never saw coming. And Raihn is the perfect example and embodiment of just that. At the end of this book, I was super pissed. My reaction was just, I felt Oraya's heart, like, in its entirety. And I felt so bad for her. But the biggest lesson here is always trust your gut, always trust your instinct, and don't trust your heart a lot of the times. A lot of the times, our heart deceives us. And this book had so much betrayal and so much drama and so much twists that it just left me at like a standstill of like, WTF? Like, what happened? How did we get here? I thought this was a romance that was worthy of, you know, make it to the end. And I was just so heartbroken for Oraya. Oraya's journey through this trial or tournament was not easy. She had to overcome so many different things, especially not only in the physical, but also mental. She had to wonder what her father was thinking, what's to come next in the next tournaments, how was she able to survive, and how to make it to the next survival of the fittest tournament scenes. Oraya is a resilient character, a heroine in her own way. And I admired the fact that she went into this tournament as a human to fight all these different things and face all her fears. She showed true leadership and true heroism through her combat, through everything that she went through. And I think that Oraya is just a strong individual because putting me in a trial with God knows how many, like literally the tournament had 5 or 6 trials and one was worse than the next. She was just fighting for her life, essentially. My final verdict of this book is that it's a must read. It is powered with so much trauma. Heads up, there's trauma, there's deception, there's manipulation, there is a trigger warning at the beginning of this book. It does contain a lot of gory, not a lot of gory, but I mean, vampires are killing vampires, vampires are killing humans, and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. If you haven't read The Serpent and the Wings of Night, I would highly recommend this book. It is so full of just betrayal, grief, and manipulation, and how to basically come out of that through Oraya. I would 100% recommend this book. It kept me on my toes. I kept coming back for more. It was definitely a book that got me out of the slump that I was in. I enjoyed every part of it. The stories that we love say something about who we are becoming and how we can all grow. So thank you for being here with me and growing with me. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to support my channel. And let me know in the comments, did you read The Serpent and the Wings of Night? What did you think about it? How did the characters shape you? What did it make you think of? What was the hardest parts for you to read through? Let me know down below. Till next time, bye.